Okay, so today we're going to be doing one-step inequalities. Now, beforehand, we were doing equations, right? So we were doing things like this. We were doing equations like x plus 2 equals 8, and we were solving them, things like that. Well, for every single equation, you're going to have an equal sign. This is an equal sign, right? Going back to the basics. Well, today, we're not going to be doing equations. We're going to be doing inequalities. So let me show you what that looks like. All right, so for inequalities, you're going to have 4 symbols that you probably already know. So I'm going to divide my paper into 4 boxes. Just like this. Okay, so as far as inequality symbols go, you're going to have 4 that you need to know. The first one is the less than symbol. How many of you have seen this before? Well, if you took Algebra 1, you should have seen it. This is going to be the less than symbol. It's going to be pointing to the left, But then you also have another symbol called the greater than symbol. This one's going to be pointing to the right. So I'm going to be doing a lot of pointing in class today. So those are the first 2 that you learned about, the less than symbol and the greater than symbol. But then there are 2 more that you learned about. There's the less than or equal to. Less than or equal to. Notice that it's basically the same thing as a less than symbol, but it's got this horizontal line under it. That makes it less than or equal to. And then the last one that you learned about is the greater than or equal to. I'll put that one over here. So this is greater than or equal to. So these are the 4 that you need to know. And we're going to talk about all 4 of them today. So let me change my color to yellow. Okay, so for the less than symbol, we're always going to be shading to the left. So I'm going to write shade left. So the reason why we're shading to the left instead of to the right is because this inequality symbol is pointing to the left. So if you think about it this way, it's pointing to the left, therefore you've got a shade to the left. It's going to be opposite for the greater than symbol. For the greater than symbol, you need a shade to the right. And we shade to the right because it's pointing to the right. And then the 2 symbols down at the bottom behave the same way. For the less than or equal to, you're going to be shading to the left, just like the less than symbol. And then for the greater than or equal to symbol, it's pointing to the right, so you're also going to be shading to the right for this one. So less than, you shade to the left. Greater than, you shade to the right. Okay? Let me change my color one more time to red. Okay, for the less than symbol, you're going to have an open circle. When you graph on a number line, you're going to be using an open circle for the less than symbol. And the open circle is going to look like this. It's just an open circle. And we're going to be using the same symbol for the greater than symbol. This is also going to have an open circle. So it's just going to look like that. It kind of looks like a node. But the two symbols on the bottom are going to have a closed circle. A closed circle. So let me show you what these are going to look like. You're going to have a closed circle for the less than or equal to symbol. It's basically going to be a circle that is shaded inside. So it's going to look like this. And then same thing for this one. You're also going to have a closed circle. This circle is going to be shaded on the inside. That's what makes it closed. So if it's open, it's not going to be shaded. But if it's a closed circle, it has to be shaded. So these are the four symbols that you need to know. I'll leave them up there for a minute so you guys can get them. And then we're going to try 5 different problems together. And we'll move on to the classwork after that. Okay, let's try number 1. For number 1, I've got x plus 2 is less than 5. So for this one, I have a less than symbol. It's pointing to the left. So eventually we're going to have to shade to the left. But what I want to do is I want to get x by itself. I want to get x by itself on this side, which means I've got to get rid of this plus 2 somehow. How am I going to get rid of that plus 2? Subtract 2. Yep. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. So I'm going to subtract 2 from this side and the right side. Basically, you've got to do it on both sides of the inequality symbol. And then you're going to draw your line under it like that. So what's going to happen on this side is the positive 2 and the minus 2 are going to cancel each other out. So I'm going to cross through those. And I'm going to bring down the x, the variable, just like that. Another thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down the less than symbol. And then on the right side, I have 5 minus 2. That's going to give me 3. So my answer is going to be x is less than 3. So any number less than 3 is going to work, like 2, 1, 0, things like that. Okay, so the last 2 things we're going to do for this question is we're going to write our solution set and our number line. Those are the 2 things that I'm going to do for each question today. Now the solution set is pretty simple. You write your braces, you put your variable on the left side, and you're going to draw a vertical line down like that. But then on the other side, you're going to have your answer. So x is less than 3. So what this means is you're taking all the real numbers x such that x is less than 3. Now for the number line, you've probably seen this before. It's just going to be a horizontal line with 2 arrows, one on the right side, one on the left side. And what I'm going to do for my number line is I'm going to take my answer, that 3, and I'm going to put it in the middle of the line. So right smack dab in the middle of the line, you're going to have a 3. So then all the numbers that are less than 3 are going to go on the left-hand side, like 2 and 1. But all the numbers that are bigger than 3, like 4 and 5, those are going to go on the right side. So I'm going to have 4 and 5 over here. Okay, so since I have a less than symbol, I'm going to use an open circle, and I'm going to shade to the left. I'm going to shade to the left. You can kind of tell that I'm going to shade to the left because the inequality symbol is pointing to the left. So that means I'm going to shade to the left. I'm going to put an open circle on 3, just like this. And I'm going to shade to the left. Shade to the left. And then I'm going to color the arrow. So basically what this means is I'm not including 3 in my answer because it's an open circle. But every number that's less than 3 is going to get shaded. While the numbers that are bigger than 3, like 4 and 5, those are not going to be shaded whatsoever. So that's how you graph on a number line. All right, let's try number 2. I've got x minus 1 is greater than 4. So for this one, just like the last one, I want to get x by itself on the left-hand side. So that means I've got to get rid of this -1 somehow. How can I do that? You could add 1 to both sides, right? So I'm going to add 1 to this side and this side. And then I'm going to draw my line under that. So the good thing about this is the -1 and the +1 are going to cancel each other out, just like that. I'm going to bring down my x, my greater than symbol. And then on the right side, I have 4 plus 1. That's going to give me 5. So that's going to be my answer. X is greater than 5. So my solution set is going to be all the real numbers x such that x is greater than 5. And then I'm going to close up my set. So that's my solution set. My number line is going to look like this. I'm going to take my answer 5 and I'm going to put it in the middle. I'm going to take all the numbers that are less than 5, like 4 and 3, put them on the left side. And then all the numbers that are bigger, like 6 and 7, I'm going to put them on the right-hand side. Okay, so I've got a greater than symbol. Am I going to be using an open dot or a closed dot? Open, because it's a greater than symbol. I don't have that line underneath. That would make it closed. So I'm going to use an open dot or an open circle. And I'm going to put that open circle on the 5. Just like that. So I put that open circle on the 5. Now, which way am I going to shade? To the right or to the left? The right. Because this is pointing to the right. I need to shade all the numbers that are greater than 5. So I need to shade numbers like 6 and 7. That means I'm going to have to shade to the right. And that's my answer. So it's pretty simple once you get the hang of it. I'm going to write shade to the right. Okay, let's look at number 3. So for number 3, I've got x divided by 2 is less than or equal to 4. Since I'm dividing by 2, I've got a fraction set up. Now, what I want to do is I want to get rid of that 2. Since I'm dividing by 2, what's the opposite of division? Multiplication, right? So I would multiply both sides by 2 to get it started. So I'm going to put a 2 right here out in parentheses, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And what that's going to do is it's going to get rid of the 2's. So the 2's are going to get canceled out, but the x is going to remain on the left side. Doing yellow. So I bring down the sign, less than or equal to, and then 4 times 2 is going to give me what?
8.
Yep. So x is less than or equal to 8. My solution set is going to be all the real numbers x, such that x is less than or equal to 8. And then I'm going to close it up. So that's my solution set. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my number line, right? So let's see what that looks like. I'm going to have a horizontal line with arrows at both ends, and I'm going to put 8 in the middle. Numbers that are less than 8, like 7, 6, those are going to go on the left side. But numbers that are bigger than 8, like 9 and 10, those are going to go on the right side. Because if you go farther to the right, you'll get bigger numbers. So if I have a less than or equal to symbol, am I going to use a closed dot or an open dot? It's going to be closed this time, right? Because of this little line down here. Which way am I going to shade? Yep. I'm going to shade to the left because it's pointing to the left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a closed dot around 8 and I'm going to shade it in just like I'm doing here. That's what makes it a closed dot. You shade in, right? And then I'm going to shade to the left just like this. And I'm done. That's number 3. So you kind of get to see the difference between the closed dot and the open dot. All right, I have two more that I want to do with you, and then I have to go down and get lunch. So let's do number 4. Negative 3x is less than or equal to negative 12. Okay, so for this one, negative 3 is being multiplied by x. So I see multiplication up here, right? What's the opposite of multiplying? Dividing, right? So I'm going to divide both sides by the negative 3 and see what I get. So I divide the left side by negative 3, and I divide the right side, just like that. So what's going to happen on the left side is these negative 3's are going to cancel each other out, because negative 3 divided by negative 3 is positive 1. So the x is going to come down. On the right side, I have all my numbers. So what's negative 12 divided by negative 3? 4. Positive 4. Yeah, because the negatives are going to cancel out, right? Now, here's the thing that you probably learned that you may have forgotten. If you ever multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to flip the sign. Do we remember that from Algebra 1?
Yes, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah. It's only if you're multiplying or dividing by a negative. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this sign around so it looks like this. So now it's a greater than or equal to symbol. My solution set is going to be all the real numbers x, such that x is greater than or equal to 4. And then my number line is pretty simple. I'm going to put the 4 in the middle. And then all the numbers that are less than 4, like 3 and 2, those are going to go to the left side. All the numbers that are greater than 4, like 5 and 6, are going to go on this side. Since I have a greater than or equal to symbol, I need a closed circle or a closed dot. And I'm going to shade to the right because it's pointing to the right. So I'm going to put that closed dot on 4, just like you see up here. And I'm going to shade to the right. And that's it. That's all there is to it. Okay, the last one that we're going to do is number 5. I'm going to put it on the board, and I'm going to give you guys a minute to solve it. See if you can get it before I do. This is going to be number 5. Go ahead and try this one. Now, obviously, you're going to have to get rid of the plus 5, so you need to subtract 5. But once you do that, then you'll pretty much have it, because all you got to do is one step. And then get your solution set and your number line going. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. So that's going to cancel these out. The x is going to come down. I'm going to keep this sign the same. I'm not multiplying or dividing by a negative, so I don't need to flip it. Just leave it the same. And then 16 minus 5 is 11. So there we go. Did you get it?
Yeah, that's what
I hope so. Now, what you'll notice is you got the variable on the right side. But if I wanted to flip it and have the variable on the left-hand side, what would I have to do to the inequality symbol? Yep. I would have to flip it around. Well, we're not doing that. What I'm doing is I'm taking the x and I'm putting it on the left side. See, it used to be on the right side. But if I put the x on the left side, the inequality symbol flips around. So that's another thing to think about, right? You've got the x on the right-hand side starting off with, when usually all the questions that we've been doing up to now, the x has been on the left side.
Okay.
Now, another way you can think about this is it's pointing at the 11, right? It's pointing at the 11. So when I rewrite it, it's got to still be pointing at the 11. So hopefully that should help you out. So then my solution sets, you could write it like this. That's fine. You could also write it like this. You could have the 11 on the left side. That would be fine.
I think that's what I think. I erased that on the board.
Same thing, same answer. But then my number line, it should be pointing to the right. So I'm going to have my 11, and I'm going to have my closed dot on that. Let me put my 12 and my 10 over here, and I'm going to be shading to the right, as usual. But anyways, that's inequalities.